Hey y'all, welcome back to Bourbon on the Brain, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit special, having nothing to do with the dog sitting on my lap. This is Oreo. You may have noticed him from the Oreo's Picks videos very early on in the channel. But we're going to be looking at 3 bottles today, and all 3 of them are from Trader Joe's. So these 2 I've tried already, this one I have not. Now, what's really interesting about bottles from Trader Joe's is if you're somebody that recognizes bourbon bottles based off of their design, you'll notice 2 of these bottles are very unique right off of the bat. This one looks very distinctly like Jefferson's, and this one looks very distinctly like Rock Hill Farms. Now, Jefferson's bottles are produced and stored and aged, the rick houses, as sort of a mass storage site. So there's a bunch of different distilleries that store in the same place. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Rock Hill Farms. I've never tried Rock Hill Farms. It's an expensive brand. Even just their small batch and single barrels are very expensive, usually in the ballpark of $200 and up. I can't get them where I live unless I'm going to buy them at auction or third party, very expensive, and honestly, I'm just not going to. This third one though, however, is very interesting. It's a relatively simple bottle design, but it actually follows this very similar bottle design of a lesser known name under the Lux Hill brand. I think it's called Bourbon's Best, but it's covered under the Lux Hill brand. So I find that very interesting because on these bottles, it tells you where they're distilled. This one says, hold on, where is it? By Bourbon Square Distilling Company in Louisville. Now, I've never heard of Bourbon Square Distilling Company. This one says distilled in Tennessee by Dynasty Spirits. Oreo, I'm trying to work around you. This one is also Bourbon Square. So I don't know a lot about these distilleries. If you have any information on them, go ahead and let me know in the comments or DM me. I'm curious. But what's really interesting about these is they all come in at different proofs. So this one is barrel proof. It's 125. And honestly, the thing with these bottles is they're all different. None of them are bad. None of them are good, but none of them are bad. And they're all cheap. Usually 125 proof, you're going to be paying pretty expensive for that, you know. Typically, bottles can range in the ballpark of starting at like $75 and going up from there. Barrel proof bottles usually are pricier. You know, I look at like Barton's 1792 as a really prime example of pricing for bottles. Their small batch sits at about the $25 to $40 range retail. Same thing with a single barrel is going to be, you know, a little bit higher than that in the 40 to 60. Their barrel proof shoots up to like 75 to 120. And then their more selective bottlings go up from there. And so I use that as kind of like the benchmark of sort of like a base model that I go off of. So this was $24 at Trader Joe's. It's kind of hard to argue with that as a price for a barrel proof, especially if you like something that's higher at 125 proof. That's a pretty good option. Now, this bottle, in terms of the taste, you're going to get a lot of fire behind it. I'm not going to lie. You're going to get a lot of that power, a lot of that potency that you get with a high proof, but there are some very interesting flavor notes, stuff that's a little bit unique to bourbon. This one definitely has a coffee lingering taste to it. It's a unique flavor profile, and the honest answer for me in terms of whether or not I like it is, I don't know. Coffee is a very unique taste to bourbon. You don't typically get that a lot, so for me it's really hard to decide whether or not it's something that I like because I've just never really experienced it, and I'm not a coffee drinker. What I do like though is the uniqueness behind it. So it is something that I do plan on drinking and will enjoy, and I might even use it as a mixer. And there goes Oreo. So it is very interesting. This one is sort of just like a basic well bourbon, you know, sort of like a basic, like a Buffalo Trace or an Old Forester or something along those lines. I think it was like $9 or something like that. it's hard to go much cheaper than that for bourbon. You know, like an Old Granddad is you're going to find in like that $12 range. You're hard pressed to find something much cheaper than this. So if you're just looking for something as like a mixer or anything like that, it's a pretty good option. The taste is pretty simple. You're going to get like a typical whiskey taste. It's going to be gassy. It's going to be alcohol-y. It's not bad. It's just nothing special. You know, I mean, the nose is a little bit on the sweeter side. The taste is a little bit not on the sweeter side. This last one, I actually haven't tried yet, so I'm going to try it with you. Now, this is a bourbon. It's considered a bourbon, but it was made in Tennessee, as more and more bourbons are being made in Tennessee. So I'm actually going to try this with y'all because I just picked this up today, and I'm curious. Now, I didn't really plan this video out. I didn't write down any bullet points or anything. I didn't really plan what I was going to say. But just so I can show you before I open it up right here, I do have a bottle of Jefferson that I can show you as a comparison. Where it is. So Jefferson aged in ocean. As you can see, it's a little bit different of a cap design, but the bottle is almost exactly the same. You know, I mean, that's a pretty distinct bottle shape to replicate. So, you know, like I said, it just makes me curious. You know, I wonder if there's ulterior things going on there. Nothing nefarious, but, you know, are they using the bourbon and there's some agreement on the backside where the bottle designs have to be similar? I don't know. I'm just curious. If you have any information, let me know. So this is another twist cap. You know, as you know, I'm not a big fan of them. But, ooh, that's interesting. So, I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but if you look, it's got a spout on it. That's interesting. Haven't come across that before. Basic nose. Well, maybe not. A little cough syrup in there, actually. Woody up first, sweet going down, almost like a little bit of a honey. I mean, it's 80 proof. It burns a little bit hotter than 80 proof, but it's sweet going down. It's got a pretty long burn. You know, almost like a honeycomb. Yeah, I think this one was $13, somewhere in that ballpark. I would say that the best deal out of all three of these is probably this one. This is a pretty decent bourbon. I would say this is worth much more than $13. I don't know how much I'd say it's worth, but this is a good value bourbon right here. Honestly, if you have a liquor cabinet and you're somebody that doesn't want to spend a lot of money, if you are hosting a party or something, or you are having friends over and you want to put together a bourbon selection, you know, one for mixing, one for, you know, shooting, and one for slow drinking or sipping, you can buy these three and spend less than $40 and be golden and have one of the and be perfect. You have your mixer, your shooter, and your sipper right there. And I mean, I don't know if there's a better budget option out there, to be completely honest. None of them are going to blow your pants off. None of them are going to make you recoil and say, eh. I mean, in terms of budget, I can't ask for much more than that. You know, I honestly, it's a really good deal. I could put these in different bottles and do a blind taste test. And honestly, I'm probably going to do that with my dad one of these days. I'm gonna put these side by side. I need to get a bottle from Rock Hill Farms so I can do a straight side by side comparison. And because I actually have the comparison for this one. So I have a bottle of I have a different bottle of Jefferson's that I can go side by side with. I don't have this though, and I would like to get that. I just don't know where to get it, to be honest. But I will do a blind taste test with my dad one of these days and see what he thinks, because it's a good deal. I mean, it really is. I actually think that Trader Joe's should look into selling these as a 3-pack, with the customer in mind of the mixer, shooter, sipper, party planning, because it seems like a really good marketing opportunity. Because most people don't know that Trader Joe's has their own bourbon. You know, typically people know that Trader Joe's has their own wine and all these other things, but bourbon is such a popular thing right now, and to not have many more people advertising this, it seems like a missed opportunity, because I don't know where they're getting it from. I mean, I do, but I don't know enough about the distilleries that they're getting it from, but they're doing a good job. You know, they're not putting out a half-assed product. So definitely stop by your local Trader Joe's, because for the price, even if you don't like it, you're not losing any money. It's a good thing to try, and at the very least, they'll all make good mixers. So definitely check them out. As always, enjoy, drink safely, and we'll catch you next time.